Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome to the daily forecast for Monday, August 5th, 2024. It is the day of the goddess, the day of the moon. It is Manny's day, as well as the 15th of Leo, the 18th of Hazel, the 15th of Salmon, the 11th of Hay. And after the glitch is done, the 11th of Haynear, which translates to haymaking. So we are at the very beginning of Hazel. Hazel is Cole in the Ogham alphabet. Its animal symbol is the salmon, very appropriate. We already have that influence of the salmon from another pagan calendar. The ruling planet is Mercury, and it goes from the 5th of August until the 1st of September. And hazel, if you remember, is a tree of wisdom. And it's said that by eating hazelnuts that you would gain all of the world's knowledge. That's actually where the salmon comes in from the Celtic perspective, because the salmon was in a pool and it was eating those hazels of wisdom, and so it went on from there. Now, hazel is also known as the knowledge keeper. They are fonts of knowledge, the people who are born under this sign. They stay informed, they keep on top of things. You ask them something, they will answer, or they will direct you to where you can find out. They want to convey things. This seems to be the mindset of someone who perhaps is a natural teacher, as well as I think there's a bit of a librarian vibe here because of that thirst to know and then to be able to communicate that knowledge for others and make it accessible. These things strike me as being very hazelish. So, just kind of take a look around you if you see that kind of energy in operation. So, a little bit more on today's astrology. The sun is in Leo, fixed fire, which represents achievement. The moon is first quarter Leo, fixed fire, which represents central ideas. And then at 10:16 a.m. Central Time, the moon does go void, of course, and it will not enter into another sign until 4:17 p.m. Central Time. Then it will be first quarter Virgo, mutable Earth, representing details. So there's quite a window in which you won't really want to be doing magical workings or rituals of any kind. But honestly, these are most hours that the vast majority of people are at work anyway. So you probably wouldn't be doing anything too elaborate. So this hopefully won't be inconveniencing anyone. Mercury is in retrograde Virgo, mutable Earth, which is about reflection. Venus is in Virgo, mutable Earth, which represents perfectionism. Mars is in Gemini, mutable air, which represents pugnacious. Jupiter is in Gemini, mutable air, which is about questing. Saturn is retrograding in Pisces, mutable water, which means to redefine dreams. Uranus is in Taurus, fixed Earth, which represents renovation. Neptune is retrograding in Pisces, mutable water, which signifies a spiritual awakening. And Pluto is retrograding in Aquarius, fixed air, which means we need to examine our intentions. So let's talk about those planetary retrogrades, shall we? With the Mercury retrograde, reevaluate communication patterns. For the Saturn, reclaim your authority. For Neptune, reclaim faith, joy, magic, and imagination. For Pluto, reclaim your ability to regenerate. And for Chiron, restore that heroic spirit. Now, the moon phase is now the waxing crescent, so this is the time for brainstorming. You set your intentions yesterday, and now you brainstorm on how you're going to be accomplishing those intentions. With the Virgo moon, do's are focus, organize, edit, and the don'ts are scheduling job interviews, being around critical people, and giving in to a spirit of perfectionism. That's something very important to avoid. So on this day of the moon, we have the Leo sun that wants to accomplish things, and we have the Virgo moon that wants to see things done thoroughly, completely, and in an organized fashion. So even if Mondays aren't usually your most productive days of the week, push yourself a little bit today. The energy current does favor productivity, and the more productive you are, the less manic that Virgo moon is likely to feel. Today's tarot is the Two of Pentacles. The number 2 represents partnerships and rivalries. And for the suit of pentacles is the rational feminine, receptive energy, the earth element, the action, taking material action on something. And the key words for the card itself are more than 2 jobs, doing several tasks, wanting to keep the current status, 2 timing and juggling. And we see that juggling implied through that infinity symbol that is has 2 balls that are making up the ends, and they're in each hand, and it looks like our figure is kind of dancing around trying to keep them all organized. So the question arose in my mind of, does this mean that we have things under control, or are we just trying to keep one too many balls in the air? And that's something to kind of think about. I mean, think about the amount of information we consume each day. Think about the tasks that we think that we're going to squeeze into 24 hours, and then, oh, I wonder why I have no time to decompress and relax. Maybe it's time to just take a look and see if perhaps we are setting unreasonable expectations, and is it possible to make adjustments? And before a person might dismiss that out of their mind, ask yourself, what is the worst thing that happens if I choose not to do this particular thing? Maybe not as a continuing practice, or maybe just not on this particular day. And if, the answer is, it's not really going to make a difference, maybe it would have been nice if that was done, but stupid cycling thing on this. Oh, it makes me crazy when it messes up like that. But the thing of it is that if it is not something that is absolutely imperative and you're feeling overwhelmed and overburdened, it's time to reevaluate your relationship with this task. Is it actually necessary? Is there something else that maybe it would be better for you to decompress rather than carrying on at this manic pace? Next up is the Celtic Triad. It reads 3 meats of the hosteler: boiled flesh, red flesh, and living flesh. Now, hosteler is one who lodges guests, aka the tavern or the innkeeper. And it's talking about just kind of plain common cooking here, the things you would expect anytime. We have somewhat more sophisticated cooking methods now, but still, with a lot of places, you kind of have an idea of what you're going to be getting. And then on the matter of living flesh, that could, I suppose, refer to animals that would be freshly slaughtered and then brought to table. However, there's also a less savory thing to bring into this, the industry of the flesh, which is a very polite word for sex work. Historically, it has tried to insinuate itself in places that are intended for very temporary lodging, for reasons that are obvious and that I needn't go into, particularly if anyone happens to have kids listening in the background. I don't want you to have awkward questions to answer. But that does seem to be something that's part of the atmosphere that obviously, more respectable businesses, don't really want to attract that sort of thing. And the ones that are a bit seedy, they're not really caring what people are doing or anything else, and whether or not it's bringing their place of business into disrepute. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. And it's also a way for us to gauge, what company we want to keep even while traveling. So today's magical correspondences, they are centered on the theme of learning. The color is gray, the plant is the rowan tree, the animal is the owl, and the crystal is carorite. Independent studies sometimes do serve us better than more formal institutionalized learning. And I'm reminded of the Mark Twain quote of that he never permitted his schooling to interfere with his education. Even back then, people were very much making a distinction between the two. And you can go on learning for all of your life, and you are really only answerable to yourself about what it is you're studying, why you're studying it, and everything else. So, not allowing that part of yourself, your curiosity, to be crushed by anyone or world events. I think honestly, this could be a way for us to cope more gracefully with the challenges in our path. If you study and learn about something that truly gives you joy, that gives you emotional insulation from the madness. So, for today's practice, how do you see the goddess or an appropriate lunar deity at this time of year? How do you visualize her? What do you think she gets up to? Where do you see her energy in operation? You could study the Hermetic principle of correspondence, and for the Witch's Pyramid, examine that west wall or west corner, depending on, how someone might frame it. And then, of course, implement Mercury retrograde coping techniques. I think we get through these things more gracefully if we don't have unreasonable expectations or just say, I wish all this energy would just go away. The energy is not going to go away until it is time. So learning how to use it for what it's good for instead of fighting against what it isn't is going to be a more sane pathway forward. I mean, if you want to drive yourself crazy, I can't tell you what to do. That's your thing. However, I'm just saying you do not have to go mad during this time, and that's all. Another thing that we might do today is to have a cleansing herbal bath, particularly if we can manage to do that before our new moon rituals. Go into the circle in a completely purified state. That's always a better thing to do. And last of all for today, journaling. What divine presence do you feel most aware of on Mondays? This particular illustration is meant to depict the goddess Rhiannon. She's one of the deities that I do kind of feel lurking about on these particular days. So, who is that for you? And that does it. Have a very good Monday. I hope you have a smooth, productive start to the week. If you want to follow me across my social media, you can find me at Blackbird's Brew on X, the Blackbird Grimoire on YouTube and Rumble. And of course, you can find me and a small little community of fellow practitioners at the Oak and Elder Witchery. It is both kind of a built up, well, being in the process of being built, kind of pagan reference library with sources, as which meets a pagan coffee or tea shop. That's kind of the vibe that we're going for there. So if that's of interest to you, there are people who I'm sure you would love to meet there. But that will do it for today. Have a great Monday, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.